Dank times, Danker thoughts, sweet vibes and taking it sleazy. The dankness is taking over, nonsense is dancing through his mind. Oh, the dankness is taking over. Dank times, Danker thoughts with Angelo Grosso.
Why, hello there. Welcome back. I have missed you. Welcome to episode 92 of Dank Times, Danker Thoughts with me, Angelo Grosso. This episode's going to be everything I didn't have time to talk about in the last one because I went on a major rant about a multitude of things. And so let's get right into it so we don't have a repeat of that. Well, looks like President Biden does get to have a Supreme Court Justice nominee. By all indications, he is going to easily get a Supreme Court Justice passed. We have Breyer is retiring, that corporatist. I am happy to see him go. I can't believe the heroic rhetoric around him. He was not a hero. If you look at his rulings since he was on the Supreme Court, he overwhelmingly supported anything and everything that had to do with corporations or big business. So he wasn't really a justice for the little guy. So Stephen Breyer, I'm happy to see you go. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. If only he retired under Obama with RBJ. Obama could have had a few Supreme Court justices. That way Trump may have only had one or two. And then Biden may have had someone, maybe Alito, or who's the black one that's a real piece of shit? Thomas. Oh, those two need to go ASAP. See, again, this is why we should let out old people from prison who are former political assassinations. Let them out. Let them take out the trash. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, Biden came out and said that no matter what, it's going to be a black woman judge, which I don't like the idea of pigeonholing yourself. I think you should get the best judge regardless of what the race and gender of someone is, but maybe I'm too old school for that. I truly, truly, truly believe that Biden did not want Kamala Harris as his vice president. I think he would rather have someone like an Amy Klobuchar, because when he was saying who was going to be his VP, Klobuchar was probably his first pick, but then the whole George Floyd thing came out and she really did not look too good there. I like Klobuchar. She's one of my, I guess if I had to pick a moderate capitalist that I would maybe vote for, she would be near the top. I don't dislike her as much as a lot of other progressives do. She sure as shit would not have been my VP pick, but she's head over heels better than Kamala Harris. But if you remember, Biden let slip after Amy Klobuchar's fall from grace that he was going to have a black woman VP, excuse me. I think he wanted to wait on that, and so he picked Kamala Harris, and now he's doing the same thing with the SCOTUS, which, again, I'm not going to nitpick and say it's racist or affirmative action gone too far, whatever. I've seen the list of the expected nominees, and I like all of them. My specific favorite was the one that worked for the NAACP. I'm drawing a blank on her name. In fact, I should probably get all of those nominees up. But, maybe I'll do that once we know for sure who the nominees are, because at this point, it's all just gossip. President Biden has said that he will have his selection in sometime in February, and hopefully everything will go through smoothly. I can't imagine that we're going to have any kind of contentious hearings like we did under the Trump administration for his 3 picks. I think this one will go relatively smooth. It's getting a lot of Republican support. Even Lindsey Graham came out and said that he wants the South Carolina black woman. I forget her name is. Lindsey Graham trying to get that black vote in South Carolina. I don't think they're going to vote for you, Lindsey. Okay? You're a pile of shit, racist piece of garbage. But it also has been floated that the Biden administration and the public as a whole is sick and tired of Kamala Harris embarrassing herself in the country. So that there's actually rumors that President Biden could nominate Kamala Harris as the new Supreme Court Justice, because she is a lawyer. She was the Attorney General of California. But of course, I think it's all fan fiction at this point. and it would be a pretty obvious gesture of giving up and just saying, we got to get rid of her, put her someplace, out of the media spotlight, which would be the Supreme Court. But if you type in Kamala SCOTUS on Google, you get nothing but CNN, Boston Herald, Politico, New York Post, everything saying it's all speculation. It's not going to happen. But it keeps being heard. What does that mean? I think there is a small chance that she will indeed be the next Supreme Court justice, and that the new VP will be someone like a Amy Klobuchar or a Elizabeth Warren or a Katie Porter. It will be a white woman. You can put me down for that. It will not be a man. That's for sure. However, I think it would be quite hilarious if Kamala Harris somehow keeps failing up. She failed up into the vice presidency, and then she will continue to fail up into the Supreme Court. Insane in the membrane. But let me go ahead and pull up some related Supreme Court stuff with President Biden. Supreme Court blocks Biden's virus mandate for large employers, but the justices allowed a vaccination requirement for healthcare workers at facilities that receive federal money. Now, this may alarm or piss off some of you. I am in an agreement with the Supreme Court on this. On both of these, I do not think the government should be able to tell businesses what to do with vaccinations, or really, most things. I understand you want to get as many people vaccinated as possible. I believe that. I am vaccinated. I got the booster. I am so pro-vaccine it hurts. However, I don't think forcing it on people is going to get the people that have not got vaccinated yet to get vaccinated. If anything, they're going to, set their boots in the sand, or whatever that saying is, and make them even harder to move. You're only doing a disservice. You're not going to change people's mind by forcing them to do it with the possibility of losing their job. But I also agree that if you are in a healthcare environment and you do receive federal money, you absolutely should have a vaccination requirement. If that is one area where there should be a vaccination requirement, to me, it's anything to do with healthcare. Hospitals, nursing homes, you name it, whatever. But let me go ahead and pull up the article here from the New York Times here. The Supreme Court blocked the Biden administration from enforcing a vaccine or testing mandate for large employers, dealing a blow to a key element of the White House's plan to address the pandemic, as coronavirus cases resulting from the Omicron variant are on the rise. Yes, but just because on the rise doesn't mean it's bad. It's pretty low. But in a modest victory, the court allowed a more limited mandate requiring healthcare workers at facilities receiving federal money to be vaccinated. I already said that. The vote in the employer mandate case was 6-3, with all liberal justices in dissent. The vote in the healthcare case was 5-4, with John Roberts and Brett Kavanaugh joining the liberal justices to form the majority. The employer decision undercut one of Biden's most significant attempts to tame the virus and left the country with a patchwork of state laws and policies, largely leaving companies and businesses on their own. The president, smartly so, welcomed the ruling in his favor, saying in a statement that it would save the lives of healthcare workers and patients. But he said he was disappointed that the court had overturned the employer mandate, which he said was grounded squarely in both science and the law. And that may be the case, Joe, but again, the U.S. government telling businesses what to do with their employees is always a topsy-turvy. It's a predicament because you let this happen, and I know the devil's advocate in me wants to say, well, then you can just basically, the government can tell business to do whatever they want at a certain point. When's enough is enough. Where? The unsigned majority opinion in the employer case said a statute on workplace hazards did not justify the mandate, though it would have required more than 80 million workers to be vaccinated against the coronavirus or to wear masks and be tested weekly. It also stressed the novelty and sweep of the mandate issued by the Labor Department's Occupational Safety and Health Administration, OSHA, saying that Congress had not authorized the agency to act and describing its response as a blunt instrument. In both the employer and health worker cases, the justices explored whether Congress had authorized the executive branch to take sweeping action to address the health care crisis. The mandate draws no distinctions based on industry or risk of exposure to COVID-19, the majority opinion said, adding, It was a significant encroachment into the lives and health of a vast number of employees. But the opinion said more tailored regulations may be lawful given that most lifeguards and linemen face the same regulations as do medics and meatpackers. In a dissenting opinion, outgoing Justice Stephen G. Breyer, Sonia Sotomayor, and Elena Kagan expressed incredulity at the court's willingness to frustrate the federal government's ability to counter the unparalleled threat that COVID-19 poses to our nation's workers. I see both sides. I truly do. But I am going to have to side with the Supreme Court on this. I just have to. I hope everyone chooses to get vaccinated. However, I don't think that America should tell its workforce what to do when it's their body. Your refusal to get vaccinated, you can catch COVID and you can give it to someone, even on accident, and that person has a chance of getting very sick or dying. Again, it is rare. It is rare. If you look at these current variants, yes, it's easier to catch COVID-19. However, the odds of you dying or having a lengthy illness is so low that it actually is begging the question, is the pandemic nearing its end? There was a very interesting article written in the Seattle Times from a UW expert, and let me go ahead and pull that up here, where he's saying, hey, all indications show that this virus is getting weaker and weaker and weaker. And so hypothetically, that may mean that it's actually starting to end. Let me go ahead and pull this up here. End of pandemic. Again, this is on the Seattle Times. I don't see it. Why isn't it on here? Don't make me search on Google. I am recording a podcast. Here it is. A UW expert just called the end of the pandemic. Why is nobody listening or celebrating? So this man, what is his name here? Durka. Christopher Murray, head of the Influential Disease Modeling Institute for Health Metrics and Evaluation of the University of Washington, said the virus is still circulating at high rates for now, but in a matter of few weeks, it will be Seattle unmuzzled once again, and for good this time. This is a watershed for the pandemic, Murray said. The era of extraordinary governmental and societal interventions to control COVID-19 is essentially coming to an end. The pandemic, in the sense of that societal response, is over. Over is a mighty strong and alluring word, I'll give you that. Murray also argued the vaccines and the rapid spread of the Omicron variant are combining to end the emergency crisis period of the pandemic. The coronavirus will still circulate, but as a more manageable disease. It means, he said, that future government mandates to control its spread will be unnecessary. And again, this is an expert. I don't know if he's Republican, Democrat, Libertarian, Progressive, QAnon, Scientology, Buddhist, who gives a fuck? To me, he is accredited. Could his opinion be skewed? Of course, everybody's could be. But he's not wrong from the stuff that I have seen. All indications show the pandemic is winding down. Now, that is not to say that everyone should just stop wearing a mask, stop social distancing, forget getting vaccinated. Fuck it. It's all party. No. Like he said, it's still going to be around here, but it's going to be so weak. It's going to basically be like the common flu. And again, he is the head of the Disease Modeling Institute for Health Metrics and Evaluation at the University of Washington. I don't think that's a far-right institution, but what do I know? So I guess I could summarize my beliefs at this point is I'm heavily pro-vaccine, but I'm against vaccine mandates for the most part. You can't force people to do the right thing sometimes. They will immeasurably do the opposite because how dare you tell us what to do? This is America. We're all about individuality to a T, and that is one of the reasons why this great country is having such a hard time right now, because it's all about me. If I don't like to hear something, it must be wrong, I must cancel it. That is the American viewpoint right now. And we need to not only challenge that, but change it for the betterment of all, in my humble opinion. But let me get off my soapbox and actually talk about some good news in the world. Judge nixes Gulf of Mexico oil leases in climate-focused ruling. Oh, there are some judges out there that believe in climate change. Hot dog. A federal judge canceled the Biden administration's late 2021 sale of new oil and gas drilling leases in the Gulf of Mexico. Hell yeah. The ruling that the greenhouse gas emissions analysis by the Interior Bureau of Ocean Energy Management, or BOEM, was insufficient is a win for green groups that challenge the decision as they seek to curb fossil fuel production. Environmental organizations have been upset with the Biden administration they consider too cautious on new restrictions. U.S. District Judge Rudolph Contreras in D.C. remanded the sale back to the Interior Department for more analysis after finding that the department had acted arbitrarily and capriciously in excluding foreign consumption from the greenhouse gas emissions. Barreling full steam ahead with blinders on was simply not a reasonable action for the Interior Bureau of Ocean Energy Management to have taken here, the Obama-appointed judge said. The Biden administration had previously sought to pause new lease sales in federal lands and waters, but a Louisiana federal judge last year thwarted that policy. Earth Justice, which represented other environmental groups in the case, called it a pivotal victory in the fight to defend Gulf communities and the planet from the worsening climate crisis. The group said the Interior must start with a blank slate and consider the full environmental costs associated with auctioning off our public waters to the fossil fuel industry. Oh, here's a good one. American Petroleum Institute spokesperson Scott Lauerman said in an emailed statement that the company was reviewing this disappointing decision and considering its opinions. Offshore energy development plays a critical role in strengthening our nation's economy and energy security, the American Petroleum Institute spokesperson said. Because if you're going to believe anything, believe the American Petroleum Institute. They've never lied. Oh. And I'm pretty sure that last Gulf oil spill was the worst ever in history. So yeah, let's keep doing that. So yes, this is awesome. Good job, U.S. District Judge Rudolph Contreras. And the Biden administration, get your head out of your ass. But continuing with some good news. One of the worst things that has ever happened in this country in terms of jobs in middle America, manufacturing jobs, warehouse jobs, again, jobs that make this great machine that is America work. One of the greatest injustices was the TPPA and NAFTA, basically getting cheaper shit made elsewhere and moving jobs to Mexico, Canada, China, or anywhere overseas. Basically, moving American jobs elsewhere because it's slightly cheaper. So, you would think one of the big pushes over these last few presidents have been, well, let's bring those jobs back to America. Obama didn't do it, made it worse. Trump didn't do it. I don't know if he made it worse. But Biden said he's going to try. And here is two stories to show that he actually is following through. So I commend the president on this. Ohio lured Intel's chip plant with a $2 billion incentive package. Ohio offered Intel Core incentives worth roughly $2 billion to secure a new $20 billion chip-making factory that the company says will help alleviate a global shortage and create a new technology hub in the Midwest. Oh, thank Christ. The state's development director said that the combination of tax breaks and incentives are likely the largest ever offered by Ohio for what state leaders say is the biggest economic development deal in its history. Now, my progressive in me wants to look at the tax breaks and the incentives given, but at face value, we need American jobs bad. We need American jobs and these kind of work, microchipping. So to me, without knowing all the nitty-gritty of the said tax breaks and incentives, this is a win-win-win. And I hope Ohio remembers this when it's time to vote again. California-based Intel, the world's second biggest chip maker, announced a week ago it has selected a site outside Columbus, Ohio, for 2 new chip manufacturing facilities. The complex could grow much larger and more quickly if Congress approves a $52 billion bill that would invest in the chip sector and help ensure more production in the U.S. Intel CEO Patrick Gelsinger, I don't know, said that the total Ohio investment could top $100 billion over the decade, with 6 additional factories, making it one of the world's biggest chip-making sites. Shortages of computer chips, which are mostly made in Asia and used in everything from handheld video games to automobiles, have become a growing concern and were exposed in the US and Europe during the pandemic. The US share of the world chip manufacturing market has declined from 37% in 1990 to 12% today, according to the Semiconductor Industry Association. Boy, everything has association. Well, what's happened since 1990? The TPPA and NAFTA, maybe? So this is a big win. This is a win. We need these jobs in America now. We needed them. They never should have left. So again, the progressive in me wants to look at the fine print on those tax breaks and incentives, but Americans are getting jobs in the Midwest. It is a good place to have them in the middle of the country just for the, not blockchain, but the supply chain. So big win. And another big win for the country in terms of homegrown jobs. This is from the Detroit Free Press. Yes, Detroit has a newspaper. GM to invest historic $7 billion in 4 facilities across Michigan, creating at least 4,000 jobs. In a big win for Michigan, General Motors will invest $7 billion in 4 manufacturing facilities, making the state the hub of electric vehicle development and manufacturing. GM said it will spend $2.6 billion to build a new factory, a battery factory, in Lansing area, and an additional $4 billion to convert its existing factory in the Orion Township to make electric pickups. It will also spend about $500 million to make upgrades to its 2 existing vehicle assembly plants in Lansing. GM calls it the single largest investment announcement in GM history, saying the move will create at least 4,000 jobs and retain 1,000 others. Economists say that, in turn, this will create thousands more ancillary jobs. GM currently employs 50,631 people in Michigan. Big, big, big win, not only for Ohio and Michigan, but just for America. This is going to cut down the wait time on so many important things. You try to go buy a car right now, it's going to take weeks or months. I was looking at upgrading my computer. I've talked about it a lot on the podcast. Every computer I've looked at, they're out of stock right now. Is that going to all be fixed by these 2 developments? Probably not. But it's a step in the right direction. And I got to give I have got to give the Biden administration credit for following through with this. So, hey, congratulations, GM, Intel, and the Biden administration. But let's continue. Let's move on to some other topics. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki, I don't know, said former President Trump's comments over the weekend in which he floated pardons for the Capitol rioters and complained that the 2020 election was still not overturned were a reminder of how unfit Trump is for office. He defended the actions of his supporters who stormed the Capitol and brutally attacked the law enforcement officers protecting it. I think it's important to shout that out and call that out. He even attacked his own vice president for not, in his own words, having overturned the election. And it's just a reminder of how unfit he is for office. And it's telling that even some of his closest allies have rejected those remarks as inappropriate in the days since. Oh, Jen Psaki, you're right on with this one. And you may be asking, what the fuck is he? What is Trump talking about? I don't listen to Trump anymore because he's not the president anymore. And any coverage of him on CNN or MSNBC is only going to help him win the presidency again. I don't follow it. Well, if that is you, then hey, I'm right there with you. I don't understand why we are still obsessed with the orange Cheeto cunt. Trump at a rally in Texas said that if he ran for re-election and won in 2024, he would treat those convicted of crimes connected to the January 6, 2021 Capitol riot fairly, adding, if it requires pardons, we will give them pardons because they are being treated so unfairly. Ridiculous. On Sunday night, amid talk in Congress of reforming the Electoral Count Act, Trump argued that former Vice President Mike Pence should have unilaterally changed the outcome of last November's election, his clearest admission to date that he wanted the results completely thrown out so that he could remain in power. If the vice president had absolutely no right to change the president's election results in the Senate, despite irregularities, how come the Democrats and the rhino Republicans like wacky Susan Collins are desperately trying to pass legislation that will not allow the vice president to change the results of the election? Huh? Ridiculous. And I want to read you a really funny meme I saw on this topic here. Let me go ahead and pull that up here. I probably should have had it ready to go, but I don't because I don't know how to plan things. All right. Trump confirms that he wanted Pence to overturn the election. His goons wanted to hang Pence during the insurrection. Pence was scared of the Secret Service that day because he thought it would kidnap him. Yet, the coward Mike Pence is still kissing Trump's ass, saying that serving as his VP was the greatest honor of my life. What a weak, pathetic man. I would also throw in spineless and a closet gay. So yes, if you still think that the election was fraud, I don't know what to tell you, man. I don't know what to tell you. It's like the people that still think the vaccine is going to turn you Chinese, give you 5G poison, and will make you into a sheep. I just like, we've had these vaccines for over a year and a half now. To my knowledge, no one is speaking Mandarin because of the vaccine. No one has suddenly picked up 5G and can read into your emails digitally without even opening up an electric device. No. I don't have to tell you, man. If you're still part of QAnon and still reading the new conspiracies, I got to give you credit for hanging in. I got to give you credit for not giving up. You know, you got to have drive in the world. You know, you really do. But good God, the amount of ignorance is bliss in you people is just staggering. And it truly is something that on some level should be respected, but should not be listened to. It should not be acted on. I'll close this by saying what I say most of the time. Fuck you, Donald Trump. There's no way in hell I think you're ever going to be president again. Well, I take that back. The Democrats are their own worst enemy. So hypothetically, they could do something so outrageously crazy and bad that Trump will just walks right in here. I mean, I've said it once. I've said it again. There is plenty of areas that Biden can address to at least stop the bloodletting in the midterms. And if he chooses to run for re-election again, he should be able to win. Off the top of my head, legalize marijuana, cancel student loan debt, address why we have inflation with gas, why we have inflation with just everyday grocery items, why prices are up. Just talk openly about it. Bring the Saudi Arabian assholes over to America and yell at them on live TV. Do something. Address it. Go to West Virginia. Go to Arizona. Talk to those voters and say, Manchin and Sinema are handicapping progress in this country. Raise the minimum wage if you have to. End the vaccine mandate for private employers, which has already happened. And honestly, you may not like this, Democrats, but the Biden administration should look at Republican state strongholds and find out what are they doing. What is getting them elected time again? Is it gerrymandering? Is it voter suppression? Or are they so out of touch, the Democrats, that they can't see that people in the Midwest or the South hate them so much that you don't even know why anymore? You need to talk to your enemies, because I think you'll find out that most of your enemies, just by listening to them and just meeting them halfway or just letting them vent, many of them will not be your enemies anymore because you will have at least listened to them and try to address their concerns. So, I don't know, man. Biden administration, I don't know why you haven't hired me yet, at least to be your speechwriter. Good God. I can fix this administration and this country if you just give me a chance, you jabronis. But enough with the news, okay? I have a really good movie idea, and I just finally watched a movie that everyone was saying how good and fun it was, and I liked the movie. It wasn't as good as people say it was. I'd probably give it a 6 out of 10, but anyway, let's talk about that here. The movie in question is the Bob Odenkirk revenge action comedy Nobody. Now, I'm a fan of Bob Odenkirk way back in the Mr. Show days. I remember him on believe he was on Frasier, and was he in Friends? Oh, God, he was on so many shows back in the day. And I loved his seedy ambulance chasing lawyer and Breaking Bad. And I loved the series Better Call Saul based on that character. So I can easily say I'm a fan of Bob Odenkirk. And I will say Nobody was a fun movie. It was extremely fun. However, the orgasmic praise that has been given to this movie, I just don't understand. It's nothing new. We've had revenge action comedies before, and this basically was a John Wick comedy. It was a little weird to see Bob Odenkirk in such a kick-ass role, because I'm used to him as being a lawyer or a comedian or, some kind of businessman that has no action whatsoever. But I gotta say, he surprised me, and it actually was a pretty enjoyable movie. But I can't give it super high marks because it's not anything new or different. It is a very standard, stereotypical, cliche revenge action movie. But I will say, if you're a fan of Bob Odenkirk and his kind of comedy, or if you just like revenge movies as a whole, give it a shot. Give it a shot. That bus action scene where they're all fighting in the bus, that was an amazing action scene. I got to give it intense credit. The scene of them fighting in the house, And again, there's just too many, what do you call it when the hero gets saved at the last minute and everything happy-go-lucky? Is it the Deus Ex Machina? Is that what it's called? When the hero just works out on the end? I mean, that happened in this movie as well. You think he's going to die, and then, surprise, he gets help, and all the bad guys die, and then all the good guys win, and just kind of walk off into the sunset kind of deal. Those kind of endings are very lazy to me because a toddler can make that happen, can write that down and film it and produce it and sell it. But I will say Nobody was a pretty fun movie. But I'm just kind of wasting my time here until I talk about what I really want to talk about, which is I have thought of the greatest movie idea. Again, the Biden administration, it's shocking to me that you haven't hired me yet, but I can say the same thing about the mass majority of movie production companies. How Focus Features or A24 or even that dog shit studio Lionsgate haven't contacted me for some of my movie ideas, staggering to me. But let me go ahead and read about my movie idea. First world colonizers on a new planet. All right. So right away, you're dealing with a movie premise that's nothing really all that new. But this one is slightly different, and bear with me, I'll tell you why. The rich and the governments of the world send out soldiers in basically Star Wars outfits. Now, you can think of like a Boba Fett or the Mandalorian or Master Chief from the Halo series, The Expanse, what the Martians dress like in that excellent TV show, The Expanse. But basically, you're taking the premise a little bit like Avatar, when you have the military trying to colonize a planet that already has beings and animals on there. My take is slightly different. It's not the military. It's all the governments of the world. Some soldiers, yes, primarily soldiers, but these are government-sanctioned representatives. And then you have the incredibly rich. Think the Jeff Bezoses, Bill Gates, Elon Musks of the world. They also have their own commercial reasonings for going on this planet. Now, the main difference to me is that on this planet, there is no Avatar species. Like, I don't know what the species were called on Avatar. Like the humanoids, the humans of that planet. I forget what they were called. There is none of that on this planet. Well, let me continue with the idea here. But they also send convicts, prisoners, murderers, etc. as guinea pigs for the new world. Let me elaborate on this. I have not seen a movie where this is done. So, picture giant spaceships landing in an open field that looks eerily similar to the jungles or the forests or the savanna, the plains of Earth, but different. This is Earth 2. Just for the sake of this movie idea, let's just call this new planet Earth 2. There is no ruling species. There is no Homo sapien-esque creatures on this planet. There is life on this planet, but it's more so, prehistoric, animalistic, You don't really have dinosaurs, but you're going to have creatures that are reminiscent of animals that we have here. So you can kind of think of it like Avatar. There were some really cool looking animals in that movie. Kind of the same here. But this is where I think most of these movies get really lazy in the storytelling. They don't focus on the basics. I want to make this movie as realistically possible, meaning I want to talk to scientists, I want to talk to experts, professors that have a little bit of knowledge about what realistically colonizing a new world would look like. You're not just going to open up your space shuttle, people are going to walk out, take off their helmets, breathe oxygen, and say, all right, let's start building. No. This is first contact. You're going to have to test everything. You're going to have to say, if I touch that plant, am I going to get a rash? If I go near this animal, is it going to kill me? Can I drink this water? Can I sleep here? Basic things. And that is why the rich and the government send the convicts out there. So now it's a little bit like the Running Man. So I'm kind of combining Avatar, Running Man, any kind of blood sport movies where you have the rich letting the poor and the convicts basically kill one another to survive. But in this instance, the killers and the convicts and the poor are trying to literally test out things. Much like our earliest ancestors probably walked up to a mystery mushroom and said, ooga booga booga, this may taste good. Get Oog over here. Oog eats anything. Oog picks up the mushroom, eats it, starts spasming, frothing at the mouth, and dies. The other Neanderthal caveman bitches say, oh shit, Oog is dead. Let's not eat that mushroom. We need that same response in this new planet. And that is why you're bringing convicts and prisoners and the poor there to be, for the lack of a better word, the guinea pig for everything. They're the first ones to try new food, whether something is poisonous or not. Is this okay to touch, etc. Pretty cool idea, right? Now, I think this would be a brilliant movie if done according to my wishes. I think this could be even a trilogy, because if you think about it, I think people want to watch a realistic interpretation of what would actually happen if Earthlings land on a planet, there's already life. How are we going to interact with this? I don't want it to be the cliche thing as, all right, corporations are here. Let's just wipe out an entire section and build up factories and manufacturing here. I don't know if that would be entertaining to see, but the early stages might be interesting. I want to see, maybe we have starting some civil war. Maybe some of the convicts, prisoners start fighting back against the soldiers, the government, and the rich people. Maybe you have hidden ulterior motives. You could make the cliche governments evil like you always have in Western movies, the Chinese and the Russians. Maybe have secret plans, but you know what? Sometimes in U.S. movies, the U.S. government is the head villain. So basically, you have so many directions you could go with this idea. And I think that with the brilliance of CGI right now, you could really take what Avatar did and make it so much better with today's technology. I'm talking the colors, I'm talking the depth, I'm talking the creature designs, or the designs of everything. I want to see things that boggle humans' mind. I want to see giant mushrooms instead of trees. I want to see, maybe instead of water oceans, we have salt oceans, or we have hydrogen oceans. Maybe instead of flying birds, you have flying jellyfish-looking things. The sky's the limit. So you literally are creating your own world, and you're going to focus on the trials and tribulations of what it would actually be like. That movie, Don't Look Up, that the last scene was kind of interesting. I would almost watch Don't Look Up 2, seeing those people interacting with this new world thousands and thousands and thousands of years into the future. Even though I don't like the guy or don't respect the guy that much, Elon Musk, I heard a very interesting quick little snippet about why he was saying people think going to Mars is going to be a great idea for rich people to escape their problems, to avoid all these things. He's like, no. People going to Mars, it's going to be fucking shit. It's going to be hard. People are going to die. And he was going down the list of reasons why living on Mars is going to be a shit show. Now, of course, you could look at that from many different ideologic viewpoints, where he's just saying that to get the pressure off. He's just saying that to let the mass majority of the world forget about it, let him do whatever he wants out there. Yeah, sure. You could nitpick everything. But I think he is accurate in that it's not going to be a circus or a fun event up there colonizing Mars. Why would this planet be any different? Well, the planet that I'm thinking of, Earth 2, does have enough oxygen for you to breathe. However, what really pisses me off when I see movies that take this premise, I think of the last Alien movie, Covenant. You're on a brand new planet. The soldiers literally take off their helmets right away and are just like stepping on vegetation and touching things with no protection on, no gloves, no masks, nothing. I'm like, are you crazy? No. This is not realistic. The last realistic movie I saw that dealt with anything remotely like this was, what was that movie with, who plays Hawkeye? Jeremy Renner, and who's the redhead that always gets nominated that never wins? Amy Adams. Arrival. That movie was Dank. And I thought it was pretty realistic of how First Contact would work if aliens came to Earth first, whereas I'm talking Earthlings on a new planet first. Although I don't want to have like spaceship aliens on other planet. I think that's going to muck it up. But I mean, I really do think this is a great movie idea. So, movie executives, if you're listening, and I know that you are, hit your boy up. I have plenty of movie ideas that will get audiences back in the movie theaters, but it's not going to be for another superhero movie or another Fast and the Furious movie or another movie with shitty dialogue and just explosion after explosion after explosion. We're trying to make a realistic, fun, beautiful, epic trilogy. Think Lord of the Rings. That's kind of what I'm thinking of. Oh, God, I love this movie. In fact, you can probably call the movie First Contact. Wait, has that title been used? Hold on a second. Let me pull this up here. Because I know Contact was a good movie with Jodie Foster and Matthew McConaughey. But First Contact, that's such a common title. It's got to be used. Yeah, there's a few movies called First Contact. So I'd have to change that. Star Trek First Contact. Yeah. But what do you guys think? Hit me up. Give me your movie ideas. Grade my movie idea. I'd love to hear more from you. But yeah, I think it's a pretty solid movie idea. But let's move on here. Well, in closing, I want to kind of read a very, very interesting and insightful article I found on The Atlantic in relation to how can we fix America's sleeping problem. So this is from The Atlantic from a couple days ago. Can medieval sleeping habits fix America's insomnia? Whoa, talk about a clickbait article. It worked on me. I'm glad I clicked on it. The history of first sleep and second sleep holds surprising lessons about pre-industrial life, 21st century anxiety, and the problem with digging for utopia in the past. It's 3 a.m. I'm jolted awake. The room is dark and still. I grab my phone and scan sports scores on Twitter. Still awake. A faceless physician whispers in my mind, to overcome middle of the night insomnia, experts say you ought to get out of bed. I get out of bed. I pour a glass of water and drink it. I go back to bed. Still awake. Perhaps you know the feeling. Like millions of Americans and hundreds of millions of people around the world, I suffer from so-called mid-sleep awakenings that can keep me up for hours. Just my little opinion here. I also have that issue. I tend to fall asleep just fine, wake up usually 3 to 4 hours after I fall asleep. More often than not, I fall right back asleep within a couple seconds. But I would say about 25% of the time, I'm up anywhere from 20 minutes to a couple hours. And this is usually between 3 to 4 a.m. One day, I was researching my nocturnal issues when I discovered a cottage industry of writers and sleep hackers who claim that sleep is a nightmare because of the Industrial Revolution of all things. Essays in The Guardian, CNN, The New York Times, and The New York Times Magazine recommended an old fix of restlessness called segmented sleep. In pre-modern Europe, and perhaps centuries earlier, people routinely went to sleep around nightfall and woke up around midnight, only to go back to sleep a few hours later until morning. They slept sort of like I do, but they were zen about it. Then, the hackers claim, modernity came along and ruined everything by pressuring everybody to sleep in one big chunk. The romanticization of pre-industrial sleep fascinated me. It also snapped into a popular template of contemporary internet analysis. If you experience a moment's unpleasantness, first blame modern capitalism. So I reached out to Roger Eckerch. Eckerch? I'm just going to say Roger. So I reached out to Roger, last name I can't pronounce, the historian whose work broke open the field of segmented sleep more than 20 years ago. In the 1980s, Roger was researching a book about nighttime before the Industrial Revolution. One day in London, wading through public records, he stumbled on reference to something called first sleep and second sleep in a crime report from the 1600s. He had never seen the phrases before. When he broadened his search, he found mentions of first sleep in Italian, primo sonno, French, prima sommeil, and even Latin, primo sonno. He found documentation in Africa, the Middle East, South Asia, and Latin America. When sleep was divided into a two-act play, people were creative with how they spent the intermission. They didn't have anxious conversations with imaginary doctors. They reflected on their dreams and communed with the spiritual realm, both the divine and the diabolical. In the 1540s, Martin Luther wrote of his strategies to ward off the devil. Almost every night when I wake up, I instantly chase him away with a fart. Today's sleep writers often wield Roger's research to suggest that segmented sleep, or as Roger called it, biphasic, two phases, sleep, is old, and one sleep is new, and therefore today's sleepers are doing it wrong. But that's not the full story, he told me. Pre-industrial sleep was nothing to romanticize. Death stalked our slumber for centuries. Late-night crime was rampant, and the home itself was a death trap, as slapdash construction left houses vulnerable to fire, leaking roofs, terrible heat or cold, and what Roger calls the trifecta of early modern etymology: fleas, lice, bedbugs. As for that romantic French dorvel, it was functionally a second workday for many women who rose at midnight to finish domestic chores, and ancient soporifics, such as poisonous leaves and various opiate concoctions, were roughly as likely to kill you as they were to induce REM. Soporifics? I don't know what that word means. Looks like it means... Come on, you fucking Google search. Hurry up. I got listeners here. A drug or other agent that induces sleep. Soporific. I've never heard of that. Am I pronouncing it right?
Soporific.
Soporific. Huh. So back in the olden days, those ancient sleep agents or drugs were more likely to kill you as they were to induce sleep. Interesting. Beginning in the 1700s, the Industrial Revolution, its lights, its caffeine, its clocks, and above all, its work schedules, took Europe's biphasic sleep in its hairy arms and mushed the two phases together. A surging economy made a virtue of productivity and instilled an increasing sense of time consciousness in the West. By the mid-1800s, early rising movements had taken off in England and America. New artificial lights delayed bedtimes, while new factory schedules required early waking. The lit world altered our internal clocks too. Every time we turn on a light, we are inadvertently taking a drug that affects how we will sleep. Charles Czeisler, a Harvard sleep scientist, has said, when a 1990 study at the National Institute of Mental Health deprived a cohort of male subjects of light at night, their sleep became segmented after a few weeks. This makes it sound like segmented sleep is humanity's natural habit, and that the Industrial Revolution and modern capitalism despoiled our perfect rest. But humans have never had a universal method of slumber. A 2015 study of hunter-gatherer societies in Tanzania, Namibia, and Bolivia found that most foragers enjoyed one long sleep. 2 years later, another study found that a rural society in Madagascar practiced segmented sleep. 2 years after that, another study found that the indigenous residents of Tanna in the South Pacific largely had one uninterrupted sleep. Even with pre-industrial Europe, sleep contained multitudes. Reviewing the diaries of European writers, such as Samuel Pepys and James Boswell, Roger found several allusions to unified sleep. Summarizing this complicated literature, he told me that patterns of sleep in non-Western cultures appear to have been much more diverse than those in Europe, but that they were truly diverse everywhere. There is no evidence that sleep was universally segmented, and there is also little evidence that segmented sleep is better. A 2021 meta-analysis of studies on biphasic sleep schedules found that segmented sleeping subjects actually reported lower sleep quality and spent more time in lighter stages of sleep. One reasonable takeaway is that biphasic sleep is like anarchical foraging. Both might have well served some ancient populations some of the time, but neither of them offers a clear solution to modern problems. I asked Roger this question. As the historian most associated with biphasic sleep, had his research encouraged him, a spouse, or a friend to become biphasic sleeper? Not at all, he said. At no time in history have conditions for human slumber been better than today. Compared with 99% of our ancient ancestors, we have better beds, better blankets, better houses, and fewer late-night pests. If the purpose of sleep is mental and physical well-being, there is very good reason to believe that uninterrupted sleep at night best achieves the outcome. So, I found it very illuminating because once I started changing my nightly routine, I intermittent fast, I wear white light glasses at night, usually around 7 p.m. when it's dark outside. These glasses go over my glasses, and I mean, I look very sexy in them. Just ask Kiwi. And it does block blue light, white light, and it kind of dulls everything. And so that way my body and my brain do actually kind of slow down and prepare itself for slumber. Even if I'm laying in bed watching TV, those glasses filter out the brightness and I do sleep better since I have started doing just some minor tweaks. Just between the glasses, the intermittent fasting, late night snacking is a no-go. I don't eat past 8 o'clock. I try not to watch any program that is uber violent or is just so much action that I just get hyped up. You know, I try to calm myself before sleep. So my sleeping has gotten better, but I still have those nights where I wake up at 3 something in the morning and I'm usually awake. Happened to me last week. I woke up about 2:45 and I wasn't able to get back to sleep until about 4:15. That's a long fucking time to just be staring up at the ceiling. And I don't want to take a sleeping medication. And when I do take, you know, like trazodone or melatonin or something like that, I wake up with such fogginess that it takes me really until noon am I able to kind of get up and go. But I can't be doing that if I got work to do or if I got appointments or meetings. You know, I got shit to do. So I thought, well, maybe my body is telling me something. It just so happened that I read this article and now I can kind of determine, well, no, not really. You still want to get one uninterrupted sleep. So I still have some progress to make here. I thought I may have sleep apnea. I went to a sleep doctor. He says that I probably do, but I think he just wanted me to sell me some shit. I tried sleeping with the sleep apnea shit. It is just impossible for me to sleep with a fucking mask on that's blowing oxygen into my nose. I mean, I was up for 2-3 hours every single night, even though I was exhausted. So fuck that machine. So I don't know. But if you do have sleeping issues, just know you're not alone. I would still read the article if I were you. It's on The Atlantic again. It's about what can we learn about medieval sleep. Pretty eye-opening. It's a pretty good read. I highly recommend it. But with that, I think we can close this mofo. All right, so in closing today, I'm going to read you a quote from the great Mark Twain. In fact, I'll read you a few of them, but this one really hit home for me this week. I've had a lot of worries in my life, most of which never happened. I'll read that again. I've had a lot of worries in my life, most of which never happened. That is a very inspirational quote to me because I'm imagining most of my listeners here also have a bevy of worries and concerns that we build up in our head and we just assume they're going to happen and they actually affect our thought process or what we do or don't take action on. But we just have created these worries, these concerns in our minds, and they shouldn't affect us going forward. We can plan for them. I have tried to plan for the most worst case scenarios that I can. You know, you're never going to cover everything, of course, because what's the point of being human if you can't live and you can't make mistakes and learn from those mistakes and get some real life experience and knowledge. But if you're just worrying after worrying after worrying about things that are completely out of your control, so much in fact that it affects your mood and your emotional state, and it keeps you from doing any kind of physical activity, then this is where I would think this quote would mean something to you. I've had a lot of worries in my life, most of which never happened. The mass majority of the big concerns or worries I've had over my lifetime, just like Mark Twain here says, they have never happened. Some have, but it's so minuscule. It's rare. So just chill is what I'm trying to get at here. And here's some other amazing quotes of Mark Twain. If you tell the truth, you don't have to remember anything. Good friends, good books, and a sleepy conscience. This is the ideal life. Whenever you find yourself on the side of the majority, it is time to reform or pause and reflect. Yes, Mark Twain. The man who does not read has no advantage over the man who cannot read. Oh, baby. I wish every boomer could read that one. Never put off till tomorrow what may be done after tomorrow just as well. I have never let my schooling interfere with my education. Ooh, goddamn, Mark Twain, you're hitting it out of the park today. The fear of death follows from the fear of life. A man who lives fully is prepared to die at any time. That's probably one of my favorite Mark Twain quotes. I've read that many times in my life. I feel like I do live, but I don't live fully. But I am not afraid of death. A lie can travel halfway around the world, while the truth is putting on its shoes. Boy, he was ahead of his time. The social media right there. Never tell the truth to people who are not worthy of it. Damn, another good one. Oh, I mean, I could keep reading Mark Twain quotes. I mean, one more. Keep away from people who try to belittle your ambitions. Small people always do that, but the really great make you feel that you, too, can become great. Oh, my heart and my dick. It's amazing. Substitute damn every time you're inclined to write very. Your editor will delete it and the writing will just... the writing will be just as it should be. All right, enough. So yes, there's no point in stressing yourself out to the point of exhaustion, because 99 times out of 100, it's a worthless exercise. But anyway, with that, we are done with this podcast. I love y'all. Take it easy and take it sleazy. Don't do anything I wouldn't do, and treat others as you want to be treated. And yeah, I'll see you guys around the bend. Later, hoes.